Hello guys and welcome to this second video of the week number 3. In the previous one we discussed a little bit about Watson and his behaviorism approach. That was, let's say, a subpart of Pavlov. Okay, so here we're going to get to know a little bit about this really interesting, let's say, school or approach that was that of Skinner, okay? And this is known as operant conditioning. This was also pretty important. Let's say that this is connected in many ways to certain things that we do nowadays, even though it still looks a little bit controlling and let's say willful. Nevertheless, we owe a lot of different things to this operant condition theory by Skinner. Now there's an essential condition over here that if you go to the slide number 15, in which we will find Skinner, and it's that the essential difference from Pavlov and Watson in the case of Skinner is that we're talking about non-reflexive voluntary behavior. Okay, in most of the other cases, both Pavlov and Watson, we were talking about reactions that you did that you created without being reflective, right? It was just a reaction that was sort of automatic, yes, and of course not really well decided. Or let's say the actions were not really planned somehow. But here in Skinner's operant conditioning, we are going to see that somehow the individual makes the decision of acting or behaving in a particular way. Yes, he or she, or it, as we will see, reacts in a particular way depending on a certain chain of stimuli and a certain chain of conditions. Here we have a quote of Skinner that may seem a little bit close to what Watson mentioned in the previous lesson, but that nevertheless, as I mentioned, has some differences. Now it says, the human organism is a machine, and like any other machine, a human being behaves in lawful and predictable ways in response to external forces. So he eliminates a little bit the component of controlling, that nevertheless he does, you will see. He basically said that there is a predictability, like we human beings are like machines, like organisms in general, can be predictable at some point, that we can sort of verify how our components and our cogs and our let's say internal machinery, referring not only to the physical but also to the mental one, work, and in that way our behavior can be somehow predictable, and that it can be let's say altered by external forces. In a way, it's a little bit the same that Watson mentioned, just he uses softer words. No, he doesn't use control, he doesn't use influence, but it's a little bit like the same purpose. We will see nevertheless that this has like a different connotation. So if you go to the right side of the slide, you will see something about the operant conditioning machine or apparatus. Yes, this was also known as Skinner box. Now, the experiment that he did in this case was done with a rat. Yes, with an animal. So Skinner put a hungry rat inside a box. Yes, so he was deliberately deprived from food. Yes, that's those making the rat hungry, and he put it into a box. Like apparently all of these guys have obsessions with boxes. So he put it in there, and in the let's say the box inside there was a lever, right? Like a metal or wood or whatever stick that you could like press. Yes, and it went down. So let's take a look at these different like steps that we have in here. It says at first no food pellets are released. So what does it mean? That this machine was somehow connected, not yet there, right? Like, but there was a possibility of connection to a dispenser of food. Yes. So let's say that at some point, and we will see that in the second step, the machine will be connected, but this machine has the possibility of throwing some pellets on little like balls of food that the rat could eat, right? Um, so let's say that is what happened at the beginning. Probably at the beginning the rat went around, and eventually he saw this strange object uh, that was the lever, and it pressed, or he pressed it, and nothing happened. Yes, that was the first part, right? But then eventually, by pressing a button or by connecting certain hoses or something like that, the food dispenser was connected to the lever, right? So that is what happened in the second step. So let's imagine this angry rat was going around the box, and he eventually, by accident, by whatever, pressed the lever one more time, and voila, a food pellet like fell into the box, and the hungry rat was able to eat, right? This little bowl of food was able to do that, right? Now, well, the rat continued like going around, and for a second time, after some time, yes, we don't know if there were like different times at the moment. Now, like could be minutes, could be hours, depending on the subject. But eventually, the rat pressed the lever one more time, and the pellet again like went out. Well, eventually the rat started like somehow making the decision, if you can call it that way, in an animal of the nature of a rat, or establishing the connection between pressing the lever and obtaining food. Yes, so it meant that the quantity of times that the lever was pressed started increasing. Yes, and if at the beginning it took him 10 minutes to press the lever, the second time probably it took him 8, and so on and so on. So every time the rat like started pressing the lever more frequently, because it sort of reacted to the fact that he was receiving the food, right? So this, in more technical terms, is called positive reinforcement. Okay, every time you do something that is expected or something that is good, you receive a reward. Yes, that is what is happening. Every time you do something that is expected, something that is desired, you receive food. And let's say that the rat has the will, or let's say the um, voluntary behavior to do so. Nobody is like forcing it, let's say by some violent means, like could happen in some other schools of thought. But let's say that the rat decides, quotes, to do this. So this is the positive reinforcement in there, right? Well, if you go to the other part, or to the other let's say step, the number 3, it says that the food dispenser is disconnected. Yes. So at some point, after the rat has diminished its time of pressing the lever, so they decide to disconnect, and what happens is that the rat presses the lever, but then no food comes out. Yes? Well, strangely, the rat continues pressing the lever. Yes, because it has already some sort of habit. Yes? So even though there is no food anymore, the rat continues pressing the lever. So at this point, we can say that the rat has been operantly conditioned. No matter that he or she does not receive the reward anymore, well, it continues to do the expected behavior. Okay? Uh, so it's interesting now because basically, as you can see, the behavior of the rat is being controlled by an external source. Only the rat decides to do that voluntarily. Yeah. Now, if we go to the slide to the step number 4, you will see that actually you could extend that behavior forever, indefinitely. Yes, as long as the rat lives, if you occasionally provide food to the rat. Yeah. Exact times are in the research papers and everything else, but imagine that the action of pulling or pressing the lever is going to produce a pellet of food maybe once in the morning, maybe once in the evening, yes, maybe every 2 days, maybe 3 days. Let's say that you can change these times, and the rat will continue to press the lever like every day, several times every day, only if you give him or her eventually every now and then like a pellet of food. Uh, so of course this was like another branch of study. This was well known as the partial reinforcement schedules, right? Like how long or how frequently do you require to give the pellet in order to the rat do whatever you want to do. Yes, so that in this case was press the lever for food. So he did a lot of different experiments in which he refined this knowledge, and he could conclude like different schedules. No, like if you want the rat to press the lever 10 times a day, you would require to give him one pellet of food every, I don't know, 12 hours, 20 hours. I'm speculating over here, but hopefully the point is clear that he decided to alter and to do all these experiments with different rats, of course, in which he basically decided like what is it the amount of times that the reward or the positive reinforcement is required in order for doing the other thing, right? Like for achieving this sort of responses. Uh, Guys, we have like this positive reinforcement all the time, all the time. Just think about your salary. Yes, let's say you work the whole month in order to have one positive reinforcement, that is the salary, right? Your the money that you receive at the end of the month. This is at some point, of course. Let's say there is some distance between you and a rat, but the main principle is the same. Yes, and the same happens with a lot of different things when you're being a teacher, when you're being a son, a girl, a parent, a daughter, all these different things, right? Some of them are really close, some of the other ones are sort of not so closely related, but that is like the main principle over here, right? Now let's somehow extrapolate this into human beings. Yes, if you go to the slide 16, you will see that there are some questions in there. Yeah, so think about them. The first one, it says, what happens if a baby cries and he is immediately fed? Yes, so think about that. Think about your little brothers, or if you have children or nephews or whatever, and probably you have been exposed to a baby at some point, right? So what happens if he is immediately like fed? Well, usually, again, there are like a lot of different variables, and this may happen or not. But in general terms, you could say that every time that the baby cries, he is going to expect to be fed immediately, right? Let's say if you sort of condition the baby in that way, that is the way he's going to respond. Yes? What about the second case, that is like the intermediate position? What happens if a baby cries and she is ignored for a while and then fed? Yeah, so the baby starts crying, and the mommy says, or the grandma says, hey, don't feed him immediately because otherwise he would be intolerable. So let him cry a little bit, and then you will feed him. Yes. So several things may happen. No, the baby can develop a certain tolerable period in which he cries, and then he is fed, or even he or she can develop the condition of start crying, and let's say if he is fed only by the time that he has been quiet, he may associate the fact that he wouldn't be fed unless he stops crying, right? That's the second scenario. Then what about the number 3? What happens if a baby cries, he is ignored, and it is fed only when silent or calm down? So the baby can cry for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour, 40 minutes, an hour. Yeah. Think about any span of time that may look cruel to you, but only when the baby is silent, he would somehow shut up, right? And will be then eventually fed. But all of this may happen. I think that, and I think that I've been like a witness to all of these situations in my life, by the experience of a lot of different people. I have like a ton of of good sons, good children. I mean, good daughters and good sons, and their raising styles are all different, and I have been able to witness all this. I have witnessed the mother that immediately feeds them, the mother that lets them cry a little bit, the mother that definitely like never did that. Now you could say that if it was so easy, well, let's do the final one, all of them, right? But well, that would require to have a heart of steel a little bit, and also this is not necessarily good. I mean, there is some sort of resentment or disattachment that the baby can eventually develop toward his or her mother or caretaker because of doing this. Nevertheless, I am presenting this information because this is an application of Skinner's theory in order to raising the kids. Now, we talk about positive reinforcement, right? You do something good, I give you a prize, I give you a reward, and that's why, let's say, I can control your behavior somehow by means of these rewards. But then we have also the opposite thing, and that is punishment. Yes? So the opposite of this reward is a punishment, a sanction that you may receive because of doing something that you wouldn't like. Yes, or something that is not good or shouldn't be expected by the person that is trying to control you somehow. So this will be the assignment number 2 for this week, guys. Okay? You are going to be working again in groups of 4 people if you want, 3 people, 2 people, 1 person, as you prefer. And you are going to complete this activity over here about punishment. Okay? So let's take a look at it. Let's go to slide number 17 and let's explain what you have to do. Okay, so first of all, it says think about a punishment that was applied to you or someone you know to eliminate an undesired behavior. Okay, so think about when you were a kid, when you were a teen, Even punishment can be applied when you're already like an adult in different ways. You will realize if you think about it. Because somebody in authority, your mother, your father, your boss, your coordinator, your teacher, whatever, wanted to eliminate an undesired behavior. It's a behavior that you were having that was not adequate, that was not desirable, and such person or group of people wanted to eliminate that. I give over here a couple of examples, no? Like biting your nails or sucking your thumb, maybe not memorizing the timetables for math, doing poorly in school. There are a lot of different things that may happen, right? And usually many families and many parents like applied this punishment. So think about what they did. That would be the first one, right? Like what is the desire, the behavior that that wanted to be eradicated, and what was the punishment? That is the number one. The second, did it have directly to do with your behavior or was not specifically associated to it? Okay, so let me give you an example of something really, really common. Imagine that you're doing poorly in school, yes? So somehow a directly associated punishment will be like doing more homework, for example, extra homework than the one that was assigned to you. So I don't know, you have to do the homework and besides study something additional or do something like that. For some people, studying is a punishment, so it could be, but it would be directly related to it, right? Now, what could be an unrelated behavior? You are doing poorly in school, so you cannot go out. You cannot go and play with your friends. You cannot go to parties. You cannot just go outside and play, or you cannot watch TV, or you cannot listen to music, or you cannot stay on the internet, right? The behaviors are not related. Yes, let's say you're supposed to be doing something or doing better in school, but then the punishment is completely unrelated. Yes, it has nothing to do with it. They are just suppressing something you like, but that is not really direct related to the behavior. Okay, so that will be the second one. Number three, very important, and hopefully you sort of establish some sort of conclusion based on this. Did it work? Like the punishment that was given to you worked? Yes or no? So by suspending your internet, you started doing better in school. By suspending your TV time or going out, you started doing better in school. Was it right? For those who assigned more homework, like what was it? Was it effective? So you put it in that way. Finally, now that you're grown up, now that you are a person who has studied pedagogy and didactics, and now that you have a small role of power, now that you're in practicum, yes, you are a little figure of authority, or if you have, if you work as a teacher in an institution or something like that, you already know the delights of power, yes, and somehow trying to control other people. Yeah, because we cannot deny that being a teacher is a little bit like that. Of course, you can use your power in many different ways, but being a teacher provides you with this really scarce amount of influence over other people. So now that you have all this experience, all this theory, not only in psycholinguistics but in all the other subjects that you have taken, you are supposed to, let's say, know better, right? Like to have a better alternative. So can you think of another alternative to the punishment that was given to you? Yes, that may work better, so the undesired behavior could be eliminated or minimized. So think about it and try to give us like an alternative now that you, let's say, are grown up and that you have like suffered the punishment yourself, and hopefully you could think of a better alternative. Something less traumatic, something less violent, maybe. So it will be interesting to know your perspectives over here, okay? So that will be it for this week, guys. We still have a couple of things to go about Skinner. We will discuss about them in the next week. So we still have like a little chunk of information about Skinner, but we will work about him in the in the next week. So thank you very much. Remember, if you have any question, I'm available for you. While I'm doing this video, we're still on permanent assembly. Hopefully, we can go back soon enough to class. Well, I'm waiting for you guys, and I'm here anyway for you for any question or any other orientation that you require. So take care of yourselves, guys. Take care of your mental health. Take care of your emotional health, and help other people as much as you can in the way you can. Hopefully, this situation that doesn't seem to be finished soon enough, we can be adapted to it and handle it as best as we can. So I send you my best of energies, guys, and see you soon. Thank you very much. Hugs. Bye bye.